Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of In Conversation by Advisor Coach. Today in conversation, our guest once again is Mr. Gaurav Goyal, Head Sales and Marketing with Canara Robeco Mutual Fund. Welcome, Gaurav, to In Conversation today.
Thank you so much, Suren, for giving us this opportunity.
Our pleasure, always. We do this conversation as a new fund has been launched on 27th of February and closing on the 13th March, the Canara Robeco Banking and
That's right.
Financial Services Fund. Tell me,
Correct.
are you thoroughly convinced with the market situation right now for launching an NFO and why a banking and financial services fund in this point of time?
Okay. Uh, okay. So let me just, we don't look at in terms of, the timing of the market
Yeah.
and then, launch the fund. I think all times are good times to look at the funds. But I think, yeah, having said that, when you look at in terms of banking and financial services and why, when you're asking that question,
Hmm.
and I let me just build that entire theme for you in terms of how we are looking at it and how we should be another perspective which I want to draw to that. uh, I think one thing is very clear that when you look at in terms of, there is a broad consensus that India is
Hmm.
going to be the engine of the world growth in the next 20, 25, 30 years. uh, that vision of Viksit Bharat, I think
Hmm.
we are going to see a huge transformation when we are talking about in terms of India's GDP to grow to 30 trillion. What does it mean? It means that the per capita GDP is going to grow by 9x, 10x.
Hmm.
Correct?
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if that is going to grow 9x and 10x, then what with that higher income, Suren, you will do? Okay, if your income is going to increase by 10x per capita, is that definitely you will have more surplus. So you will have more allocation, which will be there for savings and investments. Correct. So your investment in mutual fund, your other investment side, will get much higher allocation. That is the first part. The second part is that the way the India will consume is on going to also change. Correct. So the way the home loan adoption will happen, the way the credit card adoption is happening, the way the kind of, whether it is education loans or vehicle loans and even mobile loans. Correct.
Hmm.
So the way the India is consuming and the way in terms of the credit offtake is happening, that's going to change, and definitely that penetration is going
Hmm.
to increase. Now,
Hmm.
which is that one sector
Hmm.
which touches both the consumption side
Hmm.
of this changing India and the this transition which is happening from saver to investor,
Hmm.
which is banking sector. So there is one sector which is touches both the consumption side and the investment side, is the banking theme. So overall, what we believe is that, okay, this is not about only a one sector. This is a very, very large field,
Hmm.
and the way India is now going to become this journey of Viksit Bharat is going to be there. There is going to be a huge surplus which is going to be available. The per capita GDP is going to increase. The financialization of the economy is happening, and therefore, uh, both on the savings and the investment side and the consumption side, there are enough opportunities which is going to be there, and BFS as a sector will grow
Hmm.
to really capture. So if we have to capture this entire theme, there is one sector which is banking and financial sector which can actually capture the entire theme, and
Sure. Sure.
therefore we are coming out with this proposition. So
Sure.
that's one larger argument in terms of what's going to happen. What we believe is that why it is very, very critical from a investment
Hmm.
argument perspective, from a portfolio perspective. The second is that, okay, of course, when you look at it, okay, is this sector growing much faster than the broader market which is being there? The earning profile are better than the broader market. When you
Hmm.
look at the return profile also of
Hmm.
the BFS, is the sector is much better than in terms of the market. So if I have to give you just a perspective, Nifty, you look at last 10-year period and you look at any 3-year rolling return, 5-year rolling return, 10-year rolling return, means the BFS as a sector has given 16% return versus 12, 13% on Nifty 50. So there is a 200 basis, 300 basis point of alpha which is already available right now on the basis of the return profile which we have. And as
Hmm.
we are growing and the sector is increasing, there are new companies which are coming in. So it is not only about banking, which is the traditional part, but those banks are also changing. That is one
Hmm.
element.
Hmm. Hmm.
The
Hmm.
second part is that, okay, emergence of the new sector. So you look at now insurance play which is coming in, the non-lending play is coming in. Okay, you have the entire mutual fund segment, the RTAs and the exchanges, the credit rating agencies. So there is a huge opportunities across both the lending space, the non-lending space, which the BFS today offers. So this is going to be a very, very critical component in terms of the wealth creation.
Sure, sure, sure. So pretty much, if I were to talk about the sectors being covered, obviously banking and
Yes.
financial is a very broad segment, but what all segments would you be covering in this?
So I think, as I said, okay, if I look at in terms of the size, the way we look at in terms of the listed space which qualify for banking and financial services, there are more than 260 companies.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's not about 20, 10, 15, 20, 30 companies which we
Hmm.
normally perceive. So it's a
Hmm.
much wider, diverse set of pool which is available in terms of the investable market. The second is, of course, then there'll be companies which will have our own thresholds in terms of our universe, and therefore then it will roll out into the portfolio. But from a investment manager perspective, I think one is the broader universe of
It's
the
about
listed
260
space which is
stocks.
available is more than 260 stocks.
Wow.
Second is that, okay, when you look at in terms of the segments, correct?
Hmm.
So one is
Hmm.
of course your bank lending institutions which are being there, correct? So
Hmm.
your banks, whether it is private banks, public sector banks, small banks, those are there. Then you have NBFCs which are there in the lending space.
Hmm. Hmm.
And on the non-lending space, again, then you have insurance, you have in terms of your rating agencies. Then you have your the entire capital marketplace. So right from your
And
mutual fund companies to your
yeah, to
exchanges,
asset management companies as well.
your RTAs, your depositories. So and it's growing, and
Yeah,
it's growing,
yeah,
and they are
absolutely.
fintech companies, correct,
Correct,
which are
correct.
coming in both on the lending side and on the non-lending side. So this is just payment gateways. So it's just growing.
No, yes, absolutely. It's the universe has actually become quite large now. So tell me, why should a distributor specifically keep this product proposition in front of his clients, the Canara Banking and Financial Services Fund? What is so different, and is there any specific initiative taken, by the company during the NFO period or in the
So
fund as such?
yeah, sure. So I think let me just, there are two questions in you have asked me. So I think let me just answer the first question: why a distributor should be looking at it.
Mhm.
So I think this is one which is very clear that it's going to be the engine, okay, of this entire growth which we are
Mhm.
looking at, and it's going to touch base.
Mhm.
Even today, when I look at in terms of BSE as a sector, contributes about 39% of the corporate BSE
Mhm.
500 profits.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it itself is a very large. This is the largest weight in terms of the entire any of the indices which you look at, whether you look at Nifty, you look at you know VSE 500. So this is the largest weight which we have. So it itself is a very, very important weight. The second is in terms of the kind of companies which are coming in, correct? So there are new companies which are coming in now. The only way you can capture all those themes and all those
Mhm.
ideas is when you have a dedicated fund towards that entire theme
Mhm.
of the banking and financial. So in the present diversified themes, you will not be able to capture, because then as a fund manager,
Yeah.
you have benchmark, you have to be benchmark aware, you have to look at in terms of portfolio. So largely, you when you look at the entire diversified portfolios, most likely you will see that, okay, there are 20 names
Mhm.
which you will
Mhm.
see it all across the portfolios. But if we have to capture all these new companies which are coming in, which we call as a growth accelerators. So they are compounders who have been compounding, who are, their business is compounding and they are solid foundation. But if you have to look at in terms of the growth accelerator, then you have to look at a portfolio which is completely dedicated to this entire thing. So
Mhm.
therefore, it is very, very important. And this is a very core part, because, you know, if you look at in terms of the earning profile of this entire sector is growing much faster than the broader markets.
It is.
So
It
it is
is.
very important that, okay, we need to have a very meaningful part of it in our customers portfolio if we have to participate in the entire wealth
Mhm.
creation journey.
Mhm. Mhm.
Correct. So that's a huge opportunity for our advisors and our distributors to create a advisor alpha, which we call, with in terms of spotting the right opportunity and then be in terms of allocating to that opportunity. Because if it is only selection of the opportunity but we are not allocating, then it will not make a difference.
I
Correct. So
agree.
it is a right allocation to these opportunities, also very, very important from a distributor perspective. So I
Sure.
believe it's a huge opportunity for our distributors to create that alpha in the investor's portfolio
Mhm.
by
Mhm.
allocating to this entire theme of
Mhm.
banking and financial services. And definitely from a earning profile perspective, from a valuation perspective, again, it is a very good time again,
Mhm. It is.
for
It is.
investors, because when you look at in terms of banking as a financial services is actually trading at below their long-term
I agree.
averages.
I
Correct.
agree.
So the earning profile is good. Your valuations are below your
Mm.
long-term averages. You have both the universe is very large. You have both the compounders which are growing at a steady rate, and then you have the new age companies which is coming in. And I think it takes all the check boxes which are required from from a distributor perspective.
I agree. No, I think from a timing perspective, I think it couldn't have been better, to be honest.
Yes, and of course we have not time it like it, but
It
definitely.
so naturally happened. It couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Any Gaurav, any initiatives, marketing strategies being taken, for the distributors for this new fund offer?
So I think from a Canara Robeco perspective, definitely we are, of course, doing a Bharat Darshan, and we are
Uh,
covering all the locations,
uh,
meeting all our partners, and making them understand in terms of what our perspective is, and why it is very very important for them to actually take it to their investors and have a meaningful allocation to this fund. But apart from it, of course, we have been organizing webinars with our investment team. We have traveled to a few locations along with the investment team. uh, there's a lot of marketing material which is available for all our distributors partners to take it to their investors, whether it is in a video format, or whether it is in terms of hard copies if they require the soft copies, in terms of the entire presentation content videos which are available, and also in their own languages, which is vernacular languages, because that
mm,
is something which we very conscious of, that all our investors are across the country, and they would like to see some of these contents also in their vernacular
mm, mm,
languages and their
mm.
local languages. So all these is available in their vernacular languages
So
also.
how
So
many language
it's a
are you covering
huge.
here in this?
So we cover normally about at least 7 to 8 key large languages. So at
Okay.
least it is available in their local.
Yeah, it's a big initiative. It's a good initiative. Fantastic. So how are the distributors warming up to this NFO?
No, of course, this is something which we are in the middle of it right now.
Ah,
Our job is, of course, like Krishna said that, okay, do your dharma. So we are doing a dharma, okay, and making sure that at this point of time, it's not the time to really hide
ah.
somewhere, but it is a time to go upfront and at the front end, talk to the distributors, talk to the investors, and actually ask them to allocate. And we have been very
Mm.
very constructive on equity at this point of time, as our investment team. We have given a very clear call in terms of whether it is NFO, non-NFO, means it is a time to allocate more to the equity.
That is true.
And particularly when you look at from a investor behavior perspective, for example, when you look at the January data, we have seen that there are investors, those who have bought more of gold and silver than equity.
Yeah,
We have seen, maybe in February also, we'll wait for the final data to come, but there are some initial reports which suggest
yeah.
that, that uh, uh, lower allocation towards equity, that trend continues. And I think we have seen it many times that whenever there is a volatility in the market, whenever these kind of sentiments are there, these are the times we should uh, become the collector of the units, is what we say. So we should buy more units of the
Yes,
existing funds.
yes,
If
yes,
there are
yes.
opportunities like this of banking and financial services which are like screaming at you know uh, uh,
Absolutely.
top of it in terms of from any parameter. So I think this is the time to actually
नहीं नहीं बिल्कुल
just
ठीक.
board that kind of train and vehicle. So just board the train of Canara Robeco banking and financial services, and I'm sure that will help them to reach their goals.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what's new at Canara Robeco, Gaurav? I love to ask you this question because you're a man of a lot of ideas. I know you are always doing something new. So what is new at Canara Robeco Mutual Fund?
I think thanks for asking that, Suren. I think what our endeavor is that, okay, it's not that, okay, we have to do something new every time, but definitely how we can do it in effective manner. I think
Sure,
this
sure.
year, even in our last interaction, I shared with you that, okay, we have taken a couple of initiatives
Hmm,
from, Canada Robeco side, and we will continue to strengthen those initiatives. If I have
hmm,
to name few of them, I think one, from a financial literacy perspective, and to spread their entire awareness, we came out with very innovative idea of Nivesh Bus Yatra, and that Nivesh Bus Yatra is actually spread across the entire country in the last year, touch base with urban areas and semi-urban areas, and across various states. So that was one big initiative which we took. The second was in terms of creating a lot of content and collaterals around the investor education, so that
hmm.
our partners can use it, our investors can, we can reach out to more and more investors. So I think we did that. Apart from it, then what comes to your mind is, of course, our Goal SIP initiative, which we have been, talking about it. And I think goal-based investment is something which it's not only about in terms of we have been talking about it, but we actually incorporated that in,
Mm.
our product. We actually integrated with RTA so that investors can actually choose, and they can personalize their entire investment journey by naming those investment, by kind of talking about in terms of, okay, what are the goals, and those all get captured in the account statement. And we have made those technological changes in the RTA system. We got the changes done in the exchanges, whether it is NSE, BSE, MFU, and our own digital portals, both investors and distribution portals, so are available. So I think that was another big initiative. Another initiative which we took, I think we are getting a very good response of it, is the initiative called Perspective. Now, this is a
Mhm.
learning platform which we have
Mm.
launched for our partners, and it is a once
Mm.
in a month session which we do with an external speaker. And
Mm.
it is not on product, it is not on Canara Robeco, no Gyan on Canara Robeco products, and no market Gyan. It is more in terms of speaking to those experts, speaking to those external people, and uh, learning from their experience. And we have variety
Mm.
of speakers around it. So right from geopolitics to investments to subjects like ikagai, and in terms
Very
of life
true. Very
goals.
true.
So I think we have, and all those are available. YouTube videos are available on our website, so people can go through at any point of time also. So those are some of the initiatives which we have taken for our partners, and will continue to strengthen those initiatives. Yeah.
Sure. Specifically coming back on your this Nivesh Yatra.
Yeah.
So how many cities or touch points you would have covered up till now, Gaurav?
So I think we covered more than 10 states, and
10 states, okay. Yeah.
more than 50 locations in particular.
50 location. And this has been in what time span period?
So we have been doing it for this entire year, and it
Acha.
was like once one state in a month type. So we covered northeast, west, south, few states, and then that journey continues, and we'll continue to build on that initiative.
Sure. And आपका जो goal based जो आपने बताया, because a lot of
Yeah.
technological enhancements were done there. What's the kind of feedback coming from investors and distribution partners
So
for
I
that?
think very fantastic feedback, because
Acha.
I think every investor has their goals.
Hmm.
Correct. And I think it is something which is closer to what the investor wants.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we have built the entire wrapper around it. We have built the entire vehicle around it so that it can be captured. Because so far we were selling that story in
Hmm.
India. Okay, or the distributors were selling or customers were buying it, but there was no way that okay, there was a support system which was available from a AMC perspective, correct, to the investors and to the
Hmm.
distributors. Today,
True.
what we have done is that okay, we have built up their entire infrastructure. So we have
Hmm.
laid down their entire road. Now they can drive their Ferrari, on it. Correct. So that infrastructure is already laid out. We are getting very good response out of it. Another very since you've asked, one of the key things, and it's been just about a year that okay we have launched it. One of the things which I am looking at it from the data point which is coming in is that the average ticket size of all these SIPs are higher than the normal SIPs. So
Ah,
okay, so your average ticket size is around at least 40-50% higher than,
which is a very, very good jump
which
in the
is
number.
absolutely, so which is a very good outcome for
Hmm.
both investors and distributors
Hmm.
as well, because
Hmm.
their ROI is also becoming better, because for the same amount of time their average ticket size of the SIP is getting
Yes.
higher.
Yes.
The
Yes.
second, of course, it is the time which is going to tell. But what we believe is that when your starting point and your selling is on the goal based SIP, customers will stay committed to those goals. So there will be
Hmm.
a dil ka rishta. They will be emotional connect
Hmm.
towards that entire goals which they have signed up for.
Hmm.
And therefore, what we believe is that their retention of the SIP and their continuity of SIP will be much higher. Their
Sure.
longevity of SIPs will be much higher, and therefore, again, it will benefit all our distributor partners. So, both on
Sure.
average ticket size and on the longevity of the assets, I think there is a clear value proposition of the goal-based SIP. In addition to, of course, it makes the selling easier. It
Hmm.
also helps distributor to, for example, in markets like this, when a lot of investors will look at their portfolios and they will say that okay, is my SIP is
Hmm.
giving me lesser returns than what I'm expecting. I think they can draw all those conversations to the goal-based
Very true.
journey rather than in terms of the return-based conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely, very true. गौरव ये अभी रिसेंटली हमने एक ट्रेंड देखा दैट इक्विटी इनफ्लोज वर एक्चुअली लोअर देन द प्रीवियस मंथ्स करेक्ट सो इस ट्रेंड के बारे में व्हाट्स योर थॉट इन टर्म्स ऑफ दिस इज इट समथिंग व्हिच वी शुड बी वरीड अबाउट एज एन इंडस्ट्री
So I think I would say that we have now enough history. And if you look at in terms of there are periods which will come in terms of where volatility will be there in the market, correct? Now, investors, those who will allocate less or will redeem, because of the volatility, and they are taking an emotional decision either not to allocate or allocate less or to, redeem. In the long term, we have seen that okay, they will miss their entire wealth creation journey. If you look at, and if I have to, and I'm just remembering one data point, and I think if you look at in terms of who are the people, those who have created wealth, those who have invested all through the equity market and the entire cycles, and volatility is going to be is part of it, correct? So it is the tax which you pay if you have to. So this is a tax which you have to pay if you want to create that entire wealth. Now, if I have from a longer period of time, from last 25, 30 years, if I have to look at, market has given about 13% return. If I have stayed invested all through the time, if I have missed just 30 days out of it, my return is actually half, just 6%.
oh
And if I have missed just 10 days, my return is less than 1%.
oh
You getting the point? So the point which I'm trying to make is that okay, as far as the wealth creation will happen only. So, I keep on saying that we all have in our school, you actually learn that compounding principle and compounding
Hmm.
equation. Amount is equal to principal 1 plus r
Hmm.
100 raised to the power n.
Hmm.
What is there in our control? Everybody talks about return. Is this in
Just
our
a tea.
control? It is not in our control.
Just a tea.
So there are only two variables in it, which is in our control. The one is what you rightly said is in the time, and the second variable is principal, which is basically the amount which we are allocating. Right.
Absolutely true.
So these are
Absolutely.
the only two things which the wealth is only
Hmm.
created for the people which can take which
Hmm.
are uh, patient and which are controlling these two things. Which means from a end perspective, which is in terms of time, I have to stay tight, correct,
Hmm.
and I have to when I'm investing that for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years period, okay, I need not to worry about this volatility. In fact, I need to allocate more. I need to become the
Hmm.
master of units at these
True.
kind of times.
True.
So one is in terms of time. The second is in terms of the principle.
Yeah.
Now, the principle is also very important. And if I have to just give you one perspective, when I look at in terms of the entire household
Hmm.
savings thali,
Hmm.
our householders are only 10% invested in mutual funds.
Hmm.
Correct. 90% we are invested in other products. Forget
Hmm.
about anything else. Our currency with Indians, which is basically the cash, is more than 40 lakh crore. Correct. Now that currency and the cash which is there in my home is not growing. It's not going to give me return. So the point which I'm trying to say is that P is also very important. So if we are going to allocate more from this 10%, how we can make this to 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, that transition. And if we allocate more also will also help in terms of the wealth
Very
creation.
true.
So
Very true.
in the entire process of wealth creation, these two variables are only in our control, which is principle,
Hmm.
what we are putting money for, for work. Okay. And the second is in terms of the time. And I think that's the only thing which we need to really take care of. Rest, as far as our part is concerned, the long term averages, we all know that okay, it is going to be like nominal GDP growth rate plus the corporate earning is going to reflect the corporate earning which is going to.
Yes. True. True.
If we all
Absolutely.
believe that okay, we are in a period where India is the engine of the world growth,
Hmm.
India is going to grow. India is the fastest growing economy,
Hmm.
right? Fastest large growing large
Hmm.
economy, and it
Hmm.
will continue to grow very strong.
Hmm.
RBI
Hmm.
governor also make that statement. We are in a Goldilocks kind of situation. The growth is we are growing much far, growing in a right speed. Our inflation are low, and structurally we are poised for it. So paisa to banega, correct. So we are in a period where if the GDP is going to grow, as we discussed at the beginning of the interview, then definitely the per capita GDP is going to increase, and there is enough wealth creation opportunity which is going to be there.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely, I completely agree. I completely echo your thoughts. And I think P and T, these are the two things which is our control. And no matter what happens, whatever storm comes, headwind comes, we should at least keep these controllables in our control completely. Very true.
Absolutely, and I
Very
we
true.
need to have we need to have conviction about the India story.
Yeah,
Means today the entire world is talking about India. So I think we as an Indians now, it is very important that okay, we build that conviction by action, and that
sure.
can only happen that when we allocate much more. Okay, so this
Absolutely.
10% has to move to 20% into 30% and 40%.
Correct.
And,
Correct.
on the recent behavior side, which we are seeing is in terms of the net flows, I think I'm sure definitely that's a huge opportunity for all our distributor friends. Because
Yes, sir.
as an asset allocator, as a behavioral coach, this is the time when they have to go very aggressively to all the investors and encourage them that, okay, this is the time to allocate more to the equity.
Sure. Sure.
Correct. So whether it is in terms of NFO, non-NFO, doesn't matter at this point of time. But it is very important that okay, we allocate to it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I think BFS as a theme, we are extremely convinced. At Canara Robeco, Suren, as you are aware, that we are not a fund house that will come out with flavor of the months and will come out
No, not at all. Yeah.
just for the sake of growing the AUM. And we have been coming out with the themes in a period when it is most difficult. If you look at the last
Absolutely.
18 months, what kind of products we came out with? We came out with asset allocation products. We came out
Mm.
when people were allocating to small cap and mid cap and thematic fund. We came out with balance advantage fund. We came
Mm.
out with multi asset allocation funds. So from an AUM perspective, it was very easy for me to actually come out with a thematic fund and can actually
Yes,
can collect more. But we did the hard job. Correct. We
absolutely
said that
correct.
okay, no, this is a time for from an investor experience perspective. Uh, it is a time to get into the hybrid products, and we came out with those products. Today,
Mm.
I know it is very difficult, correct, because when you look at it in terms of the net flows, when you look at it in terms of what's happening to the equity, means yes, people will say that okay, this is not the right time for equity. Correct. People are buying more gold and silver. So maybe somebody should come out with gold and silver ETFs and funds to get more money. But I think at Canada Robeco, we really take pride in that we are the asset managers and we are not
Mm.
premium
Mm.
gatherers, and therefore less is more. We do not want to just launch product for the sake of launching the products.
Mm.
We
Mm.
wanted
Mm.
to have happy investors, and we seriously believe our conviction is extremely high at this point of time in terms of this theme is an evergreen theme. This
Mm.
theme is going to be there for it's not for 1 year, 2 year. It's a multi-decadal theme, and if
Mm.
you want to capture that entire Viksit Bharat journey,
Mm.
correct, this is one sector which captures both the savings in the investment side and which captures the consumption side because the credit
Yes. Mm.
offtake is going to increase. From a penetration perspective, Suren, we are under penetrated. Correct. From the
Mm.
credit
Mm.
side, when you look at from a global
Mm. Mm.
benchmark perspective, when you look at from a savings and investment, whether it is insurance penetration, whether it is mutual fund penetration, whether it is adoption, financialization, I think we
Mm.
are very we are lower as far
Mm.
as in our journey
Mm.
is concerned. So there is a huge opportunity because we are under penetrated both on the consumption side and on the savings and investment side.
Very true. Very true.
Therefore, we believe it's a very, very, very compelling opportunity at this point of time. And this is the time for all our distributor friends to go out, reach out to their investors, ask for that allocation, give that call to them, and get them allocated to equity. Because if they will experience that, if they are happy investors, the only way we can grow is by having happy investors.
Mm.
And
True.
happy investors we cannot create when the thematic, when the fund returns are 40% and 50%, and then when the allocation comes in,
Mm.
then we
Mm.
cannot create happy investors. We have
Correct.
to
You.
have allocation at this point of time when in the last 18 months people are saying that okay, we have not made enough money.
Mm.
Okay, this is the time to allocate more
Very
and
true.
create that entire happy investor experience.
Very true. Wonderful. So, well, for our viewers, this is Mr. Gaurav Goyal, Head Sales and Marketing at Canara Robeco Mutual Fund, talking about their new fund offering, Canara Robeco Banking and Financial Services Fund. The NFO opened on 27 February and closing on 13th of March 2026. Gaurav, once again, thank you very much for taking us, so passionately through this fund and why this product and, what all is happening at Canara Robeco. And I really liked what you said that less is more. That's a very, very important line. And because, yeah, many times we come up with funds which are, quite getting a tailwind, but we coming against, the headwinds is somewhere where you try to tell everybody that, look, this is what I believe in, and this is what you should. also invest in. Fantastic. Thank you, Gaurav, for joining in today.
Thank you very much, Suren, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for our viewers, would request that if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel Advisor Coach, please do, and please also comment in the comment box as to what do you think about the India growth story going ahead, because we have a lot of the storm which is going around us. Would love to hear your views as well. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.